no matter how beloved or hated one thing may be, there's always gonna be that one moron who will go against the popular opinion no matter what. In my case, I am that moron when it comes to English Yakuza dubs. I know, I'm serious. I'm not saying this for attention or to be a contrarian. Ever since I first played Yakuza Like a Dragon, I became one of Yakuza's English dub's biggest defenders. Since that day in 2021, I swapped to English and never went back to Japanese ever again. With this, I don't want to imply that the English is the true objective way to play Yakuza and the Japanese dub is overrated, because no. If I actually mean that, then I give you guys permission to call me pendejo, even if you're not Latino. But no, I'm saying this because I think people are extremely unfair towards the English dubs in this series. And with this video, I'm not gonna try to force you to swap to a different language, but at least make you find some appreciation for the dubs. And hey, if it works, give them a chance too! I think many of you know the basic story already. When the first Yakuza game was localized, it came out with an English dub and it even had some recognizable talent. You had Mark Hamill as Goro Majima, which funny enough, he doesn't even remember he ever voiced his character. You also had Bill Farmer as Makoto Date. You know, the guy who has been voicing Goofy since 1987? That is so funny to think about. Anyway, even so, the dub became infamous due to its terrible direction and overuse of swearing.
You think I'm a fucking idiot? Look at you, fuckhead! You couldn't be any more Yakuza if you tried.
But man, I'm gonna be honest, I love this dub! It's far from a masterpiece, sure, but it's so bad that it goes back to being incredible. You can show me any scene from it and I will laugh like an idiot. Sometimes I even quote it with my roommates. Isaiah, I desperately need to use the bathroom right now.
Fuck you! You're not coming in here, you fucking asshole!
Still, at the time, Yakuza was far from the franchise it is nowadays. The games continued to come to the West but with no English dubs. It was either Japanese with subtitles or nothing. And that was the case for more than 10 years. That is, until the first Judgment game was announced for the West and also revealed that it will give players the option to play with an English dub. While this was shown as an option, it was still criticized. Many people found it to be unnecessary, mainly because the past 9 games had been in Japanese, so why suddenly go back to English again? I myself used to think like that. I didn't find it to be another waste, but I thought, man, who'll even play these games in English? And surprisingly, I ended up becoming that person. I didn't get the first Judgment game right away, but I heard that the dub was surprisingly solid, and not just that. I watched some of the interviews with the English voice actors and I liked what I saw. Not only did the performances seem solid, but I could clearly tell they were genuinely excited and passionate about their roles. That's how you win me over pretty fast. When I eventually got my hands on Yakuza Like a Dragon, I was so close to pick the Japanese dub. I even thought to myself, I played 9 games in this series in Japanese already, I don't think I'll be able to get used to English. But by some miracle, I chose the latter, and more than that, I loved it! Seriously, I really loved it! I connected with so many characters because the English voice actors knew how to sell them to me. Kaiji Tanga's Ichiban is simply iconic, I can't imagine any other man giving him voice. Andrew Morgado nailed Adachi's rough and tough demeanor. Elizabeth Maxwell perfectly captured Saiko's girl boss personality. Greg Chun as Namba genuinely impressed me because I couldn't tell he was being voiced by Greg Chun until way later in the game. This man has improved his range so much in the past few years, it's impressive! And my absolute favorite one is Robbie Damon as Shao. Seriously, I have nothing but praise for him. If Shao is among my favorite Yakuza characters of all time, it's because this man perfectly captured the essence of the character. And that's how I felt about the dub, generally speaking. Whether it was the main cast or minor characters, everyone did a fantastic job at best, good enough at worst. I could confidently say, this is a fantastic English dub. And that's honestly how I felt going onwards. Judgment, Lost Judgment, and Infinite Wealth were also games I played in English. They weren't perfect, sure, and they all have their own faults, which I'll get to in a bit, but man, if we talk about my overall experience with them, I really enjoyed them. Seriously, they're so good, and I feel bad that so many people treat them unfairly. The most common criticisms I hear towards them is that the dubs suck because the games take place in Japan. It's so unfitting to hear English voices there. I sorta get where they're coming from, but even then, I find it to be such a weak criticism. There's so many video games out there that take place in Japan, and you don't see people hit on their dubs as much. On the rare occasion I see someone complaining about them, it's pretty much an elitist who gets some sort of superiority complex from playing a game in Japanese. If playing a game in the language where the setting takes place is the best way to enjoy it, then why don't you play Infinite Wealth in English? Half of it takes place in Hawaii, so clearly English is the superior dub here. See how silly that sounds? I don't think an entire dub should be dismissed just because of the setting. If the voice actors do a great job, and in this case they do, then why do English Yakuza dubs in particular get so much heat compared to other Japanese games? Actually, I think I know why. As I said earlier, after the first game we went through 9 titles with only Japanese voices. Around the time of Yakuza 0, the series started to gain a lot of momentum in the West. The games became more popular and profitable. Ironically, this in turn allowed us to bring back the English dubs, but by that time people already had the Japanese voices ingrained in their heads. Even if you hadn't played a Yakuza game before, you'd probably already seen iconic clips like Kiryu singing Baka Mitai or Majima dancing to 24 Hours Cinderella. No matter who you were, it was impossible to separate these games from the Japanese audio, which makes it harder for the average person simply to accept the fact that there's an English option for those who might prefer it. Even then, does that mean that the English dubs are perfect? Oh no, not at all. If I had to bring something up, I wanna say I'm not the biggest fan of dubs using Japanese honorifics. You know, like san, chan, kun, or even words like kaniki and such. I would prefer it if instead they use nicknames that the average English-speaking person will use. It's just, I don't know, putting Japanese honorifics and words into the mix sometimes makes it sound like that one weeb who will unironically call you baka. You know what I'm saying? It's a personal thing though. I know there's people out there who don't give a damn about it, and it's not like this nitpick ruins my experience. Also, for some reason, ever since the English dubs returned, they still keep this thing where some NPCs and especially regular enemies still speak in Japanese. 4 consecutive games where that keeps happening, it's so weird. Is it a lack of budget or something else? It's just kinda bizarre to listen to. But alright, I think it's time to address the main issue here. Whenever someone tries to expose the Yakuza dubs as being horrible, they will always bring up the exact same clip. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Justice! We're breaking the law, breaking the world together.
Yonya as Kiryu. From the moment it was announced he will be the new voice of the Dragon of Dojima, people hated the news. There were many criticisms surrounding this decision, but one of the most common ones was that apparently a lot of people don't like Yonya as a person. I don't know, like, I know he has a YouTube channel, but that's about it. Is he annoying? Is he controversial? I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't care. All I thought was, man, it sucks that they kicked out Daryl Kurilo. Why would they do that? He was already a perfect English Kiryu. But okay, fine. Maybe this new guy will do an outstanding job too. I'll give him a chance. And so I did. And honestly, I also hated him as Kiryu. Yeah, no, this is the one thing I cannot defend at all. Actually, fun story, the only mod I ever downloaded for Infinite Wealth was the one that made Kiryu speak Japanese in the English dub. I really did not like his new voice at all, but my feelings go even deeper than, man, this guy sucks! I'll be fair, I don't care what you may think of Yonya as a person. Remove any sort of bias you may have for him, and matter of fact is, he's far from a terrible voice actor. I've heard his works before, and he is pretty good. He was solid as Mamoru Hayase in Persona 3 Reload. In Inside Out 2, he made for a funny Lance Slashblade. Hell, even in Yakuza, he already voiced Shirakawa in Lost Judgment's Kaito Files, and I remember having no complaints about this character or his voice. Also, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't people praise his performance as Enrico Pucci in the English dub of JoJo's Stone Ocean? I'm pretty sure I heard many positive things about that one. And honestly, even while listening to him as Kiryu, he manages to prove himself. When you hear his grunts and combat voice, you can tell this man can make a good delivery. So what's the issue here? He was simply a terrible miscast. No matter how good his performance may be, it's ruined simply by the fact that he does not sound fitting for the role in the slightest. When I try to visualize Kiryu speaking English in my head, he doesn't sound like this.
A fitting end for the hero of Yokohama. I doubt Masumi Arakawa would approve.
And even then, Young-ya still has to compete against the legacy that Takaya Kuroda already has on Kiryu. This man has been voicing this character for almost 20 years, and his voice is recognized by millions of people. They have high expectations when it comes to this character, so naturally they're gonna be very vocal if they dislike the new guy voicing him. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened in this series. Just look at Matt Mercer as Goro Majima, a character who's been in since the first game, one of the most popular ones in the franchise, as well as having a Japanese voice actor that everyone loves. If you ask anyone which English voice they dislike the most in that game, they'll usually point out at Matt Mercer, and he will be used as an example of, man, these dubs are garbage, which is so unfair. I don't think an entire dub should be good enough as terrible just because of one or two guys which, once again, they're not doing an awful job. They were just miscast and had some massive shoes to fill. That's why you rarely see people complain about Kaichi Tang as Ichiban, Greg Chun as Yagami, or Crispin Freeman as Kaito. These are voice actors that right from the get-go are already giving life to these new characters, giving fans zero expectations from their Japanese voice actors. Sadly, that is not the case with Kiryu. If they wanted to make him work, they should have used someone who's been voicing him in English for a longer time. And you know what the stupidest thing is? He already had one, and they kicked him out! Daryl Kurillo was his voice in the first Yakuza game, and thermal direction aside, I thought his voice perfectly fit the character. This is how I imagine Kiryu speaking in English.
Relax. I didn't come here to fight. I just want to talk to Kazuki.
Shut the fuck up!
And when he came back in like a dragon, dude, he was incredible!
Leave this part to me. You guys worry about the front line. I'll protect the back. Even if it costs me my life.
You're going down! Come at me then!
But for some reason, they decided to replace him for his next appearance. They tried to fix something that wasn't broken, and the consequence is that every single time someone says that the English dubs suck, they'll always use Kiryu as an example. And you know what? This criticism and expectations also carry over to the karaoke. I've seen this before. If people are not laughing at the English Kiryu, then they're poking fun at the karaoke, saying that the English versions of the songs are inferior to the Japanese ones, and to that I say, dude, yes, we know, everyone is aware of that, what did you expect? These are voice actors, not professional singers. But you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I believe there is some charm in seeing these characters sing their hearts out regardless of how they may sound. After all, isn't that the fun in doing karaoke? I will admit though, they kinda screw it up in Infinite Wealth by adding autotune to every single character. It was so necessary and it did more harm than good. Again, just a bad decision that the localizers tend to do from time to time. At the end of the day, with this video, my intent was not to force you to give up on Japanese voices. If you have a preference, you have a preference. But at least I wanted to halt a bit the unfair hatred that the English dubs have and show you that they can also stand out incredibly well on their own. The English Yakuza dubs can be serious when the situation calls for it.
You should savor your last sight. Let me go. Just kidding.
Can be emotional when they need to be.
I consider you my brother, man. That means something to me. Don't make me watch my brother die.
And most importantly, they're hilarious!
Damn it! These guys will stop coming on us! I meant at us!
You know that when Nimesha says, "Holy shit, 2 cakes!" That's exactly what this is. Yeah, one of the cakes may be clearly superior to the other, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy both of them. And in some cases, some people might prefer the smaller cake. You may ask, why are they making English dubs? Who are they for? Oh, I don't know. People who have a harder time keeping up with the subtitles, people who may want to practice their listening, or in my case, I'm just very passionate about voice acting, especially when it comes to English and Latin American Spanish. All I can tell you now is that if you ever want to replay a Yakuza game and it just so happens to have an English dub, give them a chance, you'll be surprised at how good they may be. And if you like them, then let me know your experience in the comments. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to support the channel, you can do so by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and Patreon. Anything can help. Have a wonderful day, and take care! I'll see you next time!